So I have finished Wonder Man, so let's rank all of the live action MCU shows that we've gotten so far. I will be including the Netflix shows, so Daredevil, The Punisher, those type of shows, but I'll be separating out Daredevil and Daredevil Born Again. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but that's how I'm gonna do it. So let's get into it. In last place for me is She-Hulk. And this show was a complete mess, and it thought it was way more clever than it actually was. It had fourth wall breaking that was just done the wrong way, and I just think that it breaks the MCU, and don't even get me started about that finale, and they really didn't do Daredevil any favors either. I don't know, everything about this show I just did not like. Narrowly beating out She-Hulk for the last place spot is Secret Invasion. And honestly, you could swap these two for me and I probably would be just fine with it. I just personally didn't like what they did with She-Hulk. The start of Secret Invasion, I was at least bought into it for at least the first couple of episodes, but towards the back half of this monstrosity, it just went completely off the rails, broke the MCU. The stuff they did with the Super Skrull is just stupid. Not to mention what they did with Rhodey. Oh my gosh, like, I just don't even want to talk about this show anymore. Next up, I'll go with Iron Fist, and I barely even remember this show. It's been years since I've watched it, and yeah, I just don't remember it actually being that good of a show, so I'm just gonna put it here. It's definitely the worst Defenders show that we got over on Netflix. I do hope that they bring Iron Fist back because I think it is a really cool and unique character, but yeah, this show just was not it. I'll go with Ironheart next. There was a reason this show was shelved for so many years. There was a really cool concept that they had with magic versus technology, but they didn't really do too much with that. The latter half of the show did start picking things up a little bit, and it was cool to see Mephisto, but I think that they revealed him in the wrong project because a lot of people just didn't check this one out. Next up for me is Echo, and I don't have much to say about this one. It was kind of boring, and I just don't understand why this show needed to exist. This was the era of the MCU where Marvel was just making a bunch of shows about side characters, and I really liked Echo in Hawkeye, but they were a side character, and that's where they really were able to shine. And so when Marvel just started continually making shows about side characters that no one really cared about and just overstuffing the MCU, this was a product of that. I'll do these next three pretty quickly because they're all Netflix shows. I'll say in 14th place is Luke Cage. I'll put The Defenders in at 13th and then Jessica Jones at 12th. I feel like each one of these Netflix shows, except for Daredevil, had a really big drop off in the season 2. It's been a while since I've watched any of these, but from what I can remember, Luke Cage had a really good villain with Cottonmouth towards the beginning of that season, but it kind of dipped in the back half of the first season. And then season 2, big drop off. Same thing with Jessica Jones here. We had a really good first season with a good villain, but then in the second season, big drop off. And The Defenders was fun, but I feel like as a whole, it was lacking. And I wasn't a really big fan of how The Defenders was kind of Daredevil season 2.5, but yeah, I'll put those Netflix shows here. Agatha all along. And this show was fine, I guess. It's really a show that you really only want to watch once. And I'll be honest, it's not something that I would have probably watched if it wasn't in the MCU. Next up, I'll put Miss Marvel, and I really liked a few of the things that they tried to do here, a little bit unique, especially with the artistic style. You really see that in the first episode of the show, where it's got a bunch of like pop-up messages and kind of what the character's thinking. It's a unique take. I like it when shows take risks like that. This one suffers from kind of dipping in the middle and just going and doing something completely different with a lot of backstory stuff. It was a fine show. I just don't think that it was like top 5 worthy. Next up, I'll put The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think that this one definitely would have benefited from being a movie rather than a TV show. A couple of things that they did here too that just didn't really work for me is they focus a lot on trying to make the villain sympathetic, and then it does get a little bit preachy at the end. This was a show that I really wanted to love, and I just ended up liking it. Next, I'm gonna put the Punisher, and it is fun to see the Punisher have a lead role and have his own show, but I feel like all of the subplots really drag down the show as a whole. I'm super excited for what they're gonna do with the Punisher in the future. He was fun to see in Daredevil Born Again, and they're doing the special presentation. That's going to be a lot of fun. And who knows, he's going to be in the new Spider-Man movie in July. So if he's really popular in that movie, which I assume he will be, maybe they'll bring him back for more projects. In 7th place here, I'm going to put Daredevil Born Again. And this was an okay return to Daredevil, but you definitely could see that there were some creative differences along the way. If you don't know, like, it had a really troubled like production process where there was a creative writing team that did a lot of the show, and then it just wasn't testing well, and then they just rewrote a bunch of stuff after they brought in some new people. And you could definitely tell that a lot of this stuff was just kind of pieced together. And for the mess that it went through, it definitely did a good job with the final season we got. And so yeah, now that the creative team that actually did this season has full control over season 2, I have really high hopes for season 2. Just missing out on the top 5, this is where I'm gonna put Wonder Man. And Wonder Man really was a great show. It had great characters, and it does a good job of diving into the struggles that one takes and the sacrifices that they make to actually make it in Hollywood. But that's also what kind of holds it back for me, is it doesn't really feel like an MCU show. Like, sure, you have some references. Of course, you have Trevor as the Mandarin. But for the most part, it's really a character-driven story that is a like bromance, friendship style type story that's not really focused in on the action and the superhero side of the MCU. I liked it. I hope that we get a season 2 of Wonder Man, but I don't think that this is necessarily the best that the MCU has given us, because this isn't what I come to the MCU for. As a show, it's great, but as an MCU show, that's where I'm docking a couple points. Moving into the top 5 is WandaVision. And this show was an event when it came out. It was just so special, and this was the first MCU show, and there was a lot of theories and stuff going on when the show was releasing like week to week. It had a great first half, but I do feel like it gets a little bit MCU tropey towards the back half. But yeah, overall, a really good show. In 4th place, I'm gonna put Hawkeye. I think that this show was a really fun time. It's fun to see Hawkeye in a lead role, and the Christmas setting was a lot of fun. We don't really get a lot of that in the MCU, so I think it was a really fun season of television. And it really does stink that we're probably not gonna get a season 2 of Hawkeye, because I think this is one of the MCU shows that actually lended itself really well for a season 2, because they really are more of a street level story, which I think is what we really need more of. Maybe with some of our more popular characters like Hawkeye, but yeah, more street level stories I think would be really fun for the TV side of things. Kicking off the top 3 is Moon Knight. I really like Moon Knight. I remember reading this article about Moon Knight saying that they'll never be in the MCU just because they really wouldn't fit in. But they found a way to do it with the TV stuff, and I really like this one. I think that it is pretty wacky with what they do in the back half with Khonshu and the fights and the dream worlds and the afterlives and stuff like that. But I really enjoy the character. I think they're a lot of fun. I do hope that we get a season 2, though it's not looking like that's going to happen, which is unfortunate. But maybe we'll see them again in projects like Midnight Suns. Coming in second for me is Loki, and I believe that this is the best Disney Plus show that they've released. Loki is one of the best characters in the entire MCU, and so having him have his own show in the lead of that, it was just a really smart move, and it really worked. And the journey that we get with Loki from season 1 in that first episode to where he finally ends in season 2, it's just really good character development, really good storytelling. Yeah, I really like this show. I just hope that they don't ruin it with Avengers Doomsday with bringing Loki back. Coming in first place for me, though, is Daredevil. This is one of the best TV shows that there is, in my opinion. You could remove the Marvel logo, and I still think that this is one of the best shows. Charlie Cox is the best actor for Matt Murdock, and I'm happy that they found a way to bring them into the MCU. I definitely think this is the best MCU TV show that we've gotten, and honestly, I don't think it's really that close. But that's just my ranking. Let me know where you would put Wonder Man in your own ranking, and keep talking nerdy.